every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
Well, it's another week, David.
Yeah,
What do you say?
it's another week, and it's great to be home.
Listen, you traveled and we ranted, and obviously we had some stuff going on. And, this is not a full-time job, but we seem to do it pretty much like a full-time job. David, you found a great topic. And the title is When is it Too Much for Information for Young Children? And, you're a father, and I think we got a little personal experience on the subject. And, I think what's going on in Florida is pretty interesting. I know you've done your research, so I'm going to let you jump on this right away.
So, folks, I don't know if you've been hearing about this, because with the war going on, everybody's kind of focusing on that. But if you're in the state of Florida, and, Governor DeSantis, he's not a big fan of the school system. You could tell there's just too many things that are going on, and a lot of the woke organizations there are trying to push their agendas. And the most recent thing was if you heard, the uproar of this so-called anti-gay bill, right? DeSantis is apparently so anti-gay that he's put out a legislation that LGBT community has gone ballistic. Employees at Disney are upset because the CEO didn't react properly. Talk about distortion of fact and the truth. So let's take a step back here. What is this bill in question? What are we talking about here? Well, what has happened here is that the government in Florida has decided that they would like to limit the amount of, that children in school from grade 3 and lower should not have classroom instruction. Teachers should not be teaching about sexual orientation, gender identity. It's not age appropriate. Now, this is the core of the bill. So the question is why? Well, I'm a parent, and I got to tell you, when my kids were younger, this would have been way over their heads. But yet, in today's generation, it seems that, hey, there are no topics that children shouldn't be hearing about. And my favorite story, Stuart, happened actually yesterday. My wife told me the story that in school, a child was talking about, he was a grade 1 student. He was talking about how great it is. He has another baby in the family, but there are no more babies because daddy's going to have a vasectomy. And you're thinking about this going, and the kids are like, what's that? And he's making the signal of chopping. And it's like, the teacher said, whoa, kids, you want to start explaining to kids what this is? The statement is it's inappropriate. So how come discussions on sexual orientation, gender identity should be taught in schools? It shouldn't. They're not ready for it. It's too much over their head. Stuart, when did we learn about sexual education? Grade 5, 6? When did they teach sex ed? Grade 5, 6. So why are we getting down this path? I'm floored, Stuart. I find that the bill is appropriate, that, you know what? We should not be instructing young kids about stuff that they just don't understand.
David, it's the old adage. First of all, the gay LGBTQ community is thousands of years old, and has existed from what we can document from Roman times all the way up. However, a children's mind is not an adult mind and isn't fully formed until they're late in their adolescence. In some cases, maybe they're many years after that. And we're introducing, first of all, topics that aren't really age appropriate. Kids don't get it. Kids don't understand how things apply. They don't have the wisdom. Clearly, this is another one of the top, in society, if you want to cause chaos, you want to cause chaos over many generations. And frankly, this is exactly just that. They're causing chaos at the expense of those people that fit into these categories properly. And the issue is people that don't fit in these categories properly and abuse these categories cause a lot of disenfranchisement to those people. And starting a child off where they don't understand what is a male or female other than IP standing up and IP sitting down is really not the age to tell them about gender neutrality.
But Stuart, here's the problem with this whole thing is that, you know, you can agree or disagree about this, but watch how this thing was completely spun out of control. They called it the anti-gay bill, but there's no legislation.
That's just the whole title is wrong.
There's nowhere in the
legislation. Something anti-gay is already toxic by nature. The title of the defense that's being given on why we should do it is toxic. Therefore, you need to put an extra careful eye on the facts.
But the thing that this is what irks me is that Disney employees, as an example, lost their minds because Disney didn't react. It's anti-gay. Florida's anti-gay. Nowhere that's really fact. Nowhere that's fact.
But it's a sensational title, though.
It's a great title. It's a great title. And you know who's responsible for it? It's the freaking press. It's the Democrats, and it's Mr. Biden.
But it keeps you from talking about the war.
No.
Talking about gas prices. It changes the narrative.
You're right, but look what happens. You know, it's this: don't say gay. Don't say gay. That's what it is. Don't say gay. Liberal media picked up on it, but again, that is not what they're saying. Okay, you talk about and by the way, Mr. Biden, guess what? Took time out of his very, very open schedule to make a comment that he found it wrong, that he found it hateful. Of course, because DeSantis is doing right. DeSantis went after reporters for peddling false narratives. It was not even close.
They're trying to discourage DeSantis because he's the next primary candidate to run for the Republican Party.
But look what's happening here. You've got Disney employees yelling at the CEO saying, you didn't slam the Florida legislature hard enough.
Who are they to slam the Florida legislator? You know what? Disney employees are either able to vote or not able to vote. So what else do you need to discuss?
Stuart, the thing that's sad about all this is that the Disney employees were upset. We didn't react fast enough. You're not supporting the LGBTQ, and this has nothing to do with this. This is all about ensuring that we are not screwing up children even more than they are right now. Children are overexposed with information that they simply cannot process. And here, you know,
hang on a second, David. You can play a video game, Grand Theft Auto, but you know there's an age requirement. It's NC-17 because they drive around shooting, killing, and murdering people, and that's how you get points. So, David, it's the whole federal system is hypocritical. Again,
it's the problem. The problem which you're seeing here is that you are not looking after the children. You're not caring about the children and what's important for them and what's critical for them and what helps them to develop. It's about pushing any narrative to further somebody else's cause. Now, look, I'm sorry. I'm not suggesting that LGBTQ rights are not valid. They are, and that we should teach gender identity and sexual orientation. Not when a child is 5 years old.
Not when a child is 13 years old.
No, I don't agree with you. Stuart, I don't agree with you on that one. And you're fine. What I'm saying is this legislation, just specific to the legislation, a child who's 9 years old is so overwhelmed with information. And now you're going to go ahead and tell them about this. And you know what the comment I heard was? Yeah, but you have to feel bad for the kids who are, their gender identity, they're not certain of it. So we're going to try to help one child who, is uncertain of their identity. We're going to confuse every other child in the classroom. That's what it's about. And then it's going to cause even more problems. Again,
I got a funny thing, it's a little more serious. It's like saying no nuts in the classroom because, some kid that's got a peanut allergy. And that makes sense. But to use the same logic, you're right, is Stuart, just not right. But
Stuart,
but again, you have this issue where you're applying rules across the board. It's just not a smart rule. I'm agreeing.
The problem,
It's not appropriate.
the thing that you said about nuts, right? When we were kids, it used to be everybody who had, like in Canada, like everybody who had a nut allergy leave the room. Now there are you have schools that are nut free. You can't have a single nut. You have EpiPens. I get it. It's dangerous. I get it. All right. But we've gone to everything is harshly set forward. And in this case, the Florida legislature, I think, got it right. Because what it's all about is allowing parents the ability to say, oh no, I don't want this instruction. The first part of this was to reinforce the fundamental rights of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children in a specified manner. The problem is that the schools are saying, you stay out of the education system. We know it's right. And we saw what happened with critical race theory. We see what happens with other things.
David, hang on a second. Let's teach about sexual gender, but let's not teach religion.
Wow.
What else? I mean, where are the lines going to be drawn? That's what I'm trying to talk to you about. If it's a left talking point, it needs to be a classroom. But if it's a right talking point, it doesn't. Now, should religion be in the classroom? What's your thought on that?
Stuart, the answer is, I'm not. This is not.
But if so, there's an age.
But it's not.
Religion could go in the classroom.
But it's not this is not. I don't believe this is what the legislature is looking at. The legislature is saying, I'm looking at children. We're looking at their minds. We're saying, hold on a second. We do not want children to deal with topics that they are just not ready for. Listen, if you have two mothers, two fathers at home, great. This is in the classroom right now. It's no longer conventional families like we're traditional families like we're used to. That is understood. Okay, great. But this is even more complex.
I agree.
To ask a 6-year-old to completely understand, I think it's just too far, and I applaud the Florida legislature. But on the other hand, voila, another example of a Republican government doing something sensibly, a Democratic government, the media, and woke corporations not taking the time to understand it, lying about it, and spreading falsehood to discredit what I believe is valid.
David, we're coming close to the quarter hour, and you know what? I'm agreeing with you. I'm totally in agreement. There's no argument. I'm just trying to bring up some arguments and some talking points that whenever the media starts out with a visceral comment, this is like gay bashing. I mean, this is where you gotta stop. Everybody's gotta stop. Read the headline. If it is that duplicit in nature, that derogatory, chances are there's a political objective and it's not based on logic and reality.
Stuart, there's no doubt.
An issue in this country.
There's no doubt. But I would have loved to have seen the CEO of Disney stand up to the employees and say, guys, did you read the legislation? Because the first thing he did after he realized that his employees went nuts on him was, oh no, I'm going to cut all funding. All of our funding to the government, all of our support, all of that is gone. Did you pay attention to what exactly just happened? Or are you just scared of your employees?
All these people that have their corporate headquarters in California that are fleeing by the dozens and by the billions of dollars of revenue day by day. I just hope they don't move to my state, great state of Florida.
Stuart,
anyways, guys,
it's just the way it's worse than that. But anyways, folks, Stuart, let's just say goodbye.
It's David, it's great seeing you.
Good seeing you, but
it was more fun in person.
Yeah,
but it's nice to be back at my desk. It's nice to see you at your desk. Did you learn any more French?
No, it's okay. It's all good. Ladies and gentlemen, we reached our quarter hour, and unfortunately, as we can see, the world continues. There are all kinds of stuff that happens during, when you're not paying attention. It's critical, and that's what we do here at the Rant Network, is we look for those topics and stories that just seem to slip under the rug and that the media is trying to pull the wool over your eyes. We're not here to be liberal bashers, as someone accused us of. We're not that. On the opposite, we welcome all thought, all conversation. We'd love to hear from you. So send us a note at rant@therantnetwork.com. Post and comment on Facebook, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. We are going to invite a friend of ours to talk about electric vehicles in the near future.
Yeah, maybe Friday.
Well, we're going to see what we could do about that, because he's got a great, he's not about electric vehicles, but also about alternative energies. And folks, we'll watch out for our promos for that. That'll be a fabulous, fabulous conversation. On that note, want to wish you all a great week. We'll speak to you on